Well, I'm going to get up with the financial markets this morning and say three things to them. Firstly, we're extremely confident about the future of Pearson for two reasons. One, that AI is an enormous tailwind for our business. And second, because of the unique characteristics of our business model. Secondly, we're going to reflect on 2025, which is a good year of financial and strategic progress. We delivered 4% growth in net revenues, 6% increase in operating profit, and 8% in free cash flows last year with conversion at 125%. So that was a pretty good year and a lot of progress under the hood strategically as well. And then we're guiding to this year for mid-single digit growth, like you said. So I feel very good about 2026 and looking forward.
The questions are not necessarily about the near term. They're about the moat and how big that moat remains, whether with all the summaries out there, with all of the analytics we can now use combined with agentic, whether you do have a moat. Get into the weeds for us. How is your moat protected at this point as you look out into the future?
Well, there are two reasons why I feel very strongly about the future for Pearson. The first one is AI, as you know, is driving a reconfiguration of jobs. And every CEO I talk to around the world understands that there is no future positive AI scenario without an incredible focus on human learning. So we're seeing incredible demand for reskilling. And in fact, we inked 9 big contracts with some of the world's best technology companies last year, specifically for what Pearson does to help them with reskilling. With regards to our business model, let me sort of say a couple of things about Pearson. 80% of our profit stream comes from assessments and virtual schools. In some countries, print is still going to be a factor for a while to go, and that adds another 10% to the operating profit. So 90% of Pearson profit comes from operationally very complex, human-led, very advanced services in regulated markets. So let me characterize that. That work requires biometric and physical security. It requires supply chain of custody of assessments and incident response. It requires psychometric and statistical demonstration of efficacy that you can stand up and defend sometimes in a court of law and often in a regulatory audit. And it relies on a level of operational excellence that moves tens of millions of people, scheduling and capacity management through about 20,000 network of physical facilities around the world. I spent 35 years in tech before I joined Pearson. What I just described, you cannot do with a plugin. The last 10% of Pearson's operating profit comes from digital courseware. Digital courseware in higher ed and in English language institutional. Again, that work is incredibly deeply embedded in the world's educational systems. You have embeddedness by integrations with learning management systems and school information systems. You have embeddedness with professors along their assignments and assessments. And you, of course, have Pearson's decades of longitudinal data sets, proprietary content and interaction data between instructions and learners, that we use to ground our models. So every time the AI labs put out some incredible new features, which I love, we use those features to ground our models and deliver excellent outcomes for learners. And we can demonstrate efficacy with our assets in that space as well. So Omar, like I said, I feel very good about the future.
Omar, it's Ben joining the conversation here. We spoke to another company that is very big on the data side of things earlier in the week about the threat from AI. And the response came that what preserves your model is trust from people. Pearson was fined £2 million for breaches of standards that could affect tens of thousands of students. What can you say to reassure people that the steps you've taken to address that and that there is still trust in the organisation?
Actually, what I was saying, Ben, is that the business model that I'm describing, the level of operational excellence required, is 1,000% dependent on an incredible level of trust. What people don't often see is quite how unique Pearson's characteristics are. There are literally 2 or 3 companies in the entire world that can do what we do, which is precisely why we are so trusted. When I run around the world meeting customers, actually I was astonished. I came from Microsoft before this, which is an amazing company. I was astonished at the level of trust that Pearson has held in the eyes of its customers. And customers literally use the phrases to me like, you are the gold standard in our space. And so I feel very good about that. Now, we're never complacent. We always know we can improve. The fines that you referred to obviously are hurtful. They dated back to 2019 to 2022, so it was a little bit before my time. But we're incredibly focused on excellence of operational performance, standards of what we deliver, and being able to prove how important what we do is. In an AI world, and you know this very well, Ben, with deep fakes, with fake identities, with an amazing amount of AI-generated content that you can't really tell how good or bad it is, we're seeing a big push in the world towards trusted, authoritative sources like us, and even in the world of assessments, where Pearson's core capability is being the verification infrastructure for human skills. We're seeing a pushback to more physical, more human-led proctoring, because people really want to know that the person doing surgery on them is actually qualified, and that's what we specialize in.
I know how important the US market is to Pearson. We've seen the ups and downs with the tariffs in the past 7 days. How much of that is affecting you? What are you doing to position to account for all of that?
Pearson, as you know, has about 70% of its revenues in the US. Obviously, a lot of the materials that we produce are primarily digital, and so obviously when we're running physical test centers in a place like the US, you have them physically there. So we employ about 6,000 people in America. We invest about £1.5 billion a year in America, and so in America we are American, and the tariff rules haven't encompassed or haven't covered most of what we do. So far it's been completely fine.
Omar, I'm really sorry, but I'm just not buying the fact that we shouldn't all be terrified about the jobs picture as well. You know as well as I do that there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of professionals who use your amazing products who might not be using the products because AI is destroying their livelihood. And if it hasn't destroyed it now, it's set to destroy it as well. I can give you hundreds of examples of legal professionals just looking in horror as billable hours just get shrunk. I found one on Lawline, for instance, 10 hours of legal work compressed into 45 minutes. We should all be very, very concerned about the jobs because, Omar, the jobs aren't going to be there if that kind of speed of AI application is replicated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speculate, but let me tell you things that we do know, and then maybe a couple of things that we're not sure about. What we do know is that a lot of the narrative that you're talking about, the sort of AI-driven job doomerism, is coming from Silicon Valley. And it's coming, and these are excellent, wonderful people. I love them. I know a lot of them very, very well. But some of them are pitching the story because they need to pitch their own book. In other words, I am building super intelligence. You should fund me by tens of billions or hundreds of billions of dollars so I can build out these massive data centers. So that story is very clear. The other story is actually, which is very real, is if you're a software engineers are genuinely shocked at how capable these models are at doing what they do, or how they used to do it. And I think too often the world is linearly extrapolating and saying, well, if I can use Claude Code or Codex 5.3 to do coding very differently, like 10x faster than I used to do it, then that is going to translate to every other job in the world. I don't buy that. I think the rate of diffusion is going to be a bit more complex than people make out. Actually, what I can tell you about Pearson is that those exact same tech companies that you're telling me you're worried about are coming to us and saying, help us train our sellers on our latest AI. Help us train our customers on our latest AI. And we're seeing a giant growth in demand
Omar,
for all of that. Actually, yeah, I was just going to say, in the past, when markets turned down, just without AI, people actually needed to go reskill. And that we are seeing that in our business as well.
There will be no reskilling if we, well, oh yeah, sure, we can all work in the care industry and look after people in homes and everything as well. But Jack Dorsey has just come out. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Block announcement. Jack Dorsey came, and it's
mainly a software company.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, I won't do that. I'll talk about the lawyers then. Okay, oh, you're right. I'll forget about that. What about the lawyers? The lawyers are turning 100 billable hours into about, I don't know, let's say 5 hours work kind of thing. That is an Armageddon for lawyers, not for technical people, not for technologists.
Listen, I mean, I'm not in any way understating the importance of the AI reconfiguration of jobs. But the two things I'll point out. A lot of this is unknowable. In the past, when we invented the automotive car, all the people who worked in the horse and buggy industry were put out of work, and then they repurposed into something else. There have been tons of examples of that in history, when the Minnesotan ice farmers were put out of work because of refrigeration and electricity.
Omar.
Yeah. So with the lawyers, when the price goes down for the unit, you'll say, okay, what happens to the price of expertise? Typically what happens is, as long as there's latent demand, demand explodes. This is like this Jevons paradox problem. You can't actually predict what future demand is. If there is demand for lawyering, we're going to end up just doing more lawyering. It may be cheaper per unit, but you'll do more overall.
With less lawyers, Omar. There won't be the need. Okay, here's what I want to know. And no one has given me a great answer on this one in the 5 years I've been asking the question. Show me the jobs. I'm quoting Mr. Cooper Jr. here. Show me. Everyone says there's going to be replacement jobs. Show me the jobs. Show me the jobs for my children, for Karen's children, for all of our children. What are they? Because I see graduates pleading with me all the time for a bit of work experience or a bit of internship because the jobs aren't there.
So listen, I've got two young boys who are high school and university, so I feel exactly what you're talking about. One of the things that we've seen is that AI has killed the CV or the resume, because what's happening is kids right now are firing off resumes to 10,000 companies built by AI, and those resumes are being read by AI. So you've got bots talking to bots, and so that system is broken down. So there's no question that we're in a moment of reconfiguration where we need to rethink how things are going to play out. But if you go back to 1980 and ask yourself, what is a web designer? You would never have heard of that. What is a mobile phone component manufacturer? You would never have heard of it. It's very hard to see the jobs that are going to come, and it's very easy to see the jobs that will go away. And so, again, I'm not making light of it. I think the world has a choice. It is up to us. We don't have to accept an AI job apocalypse. It's up to us as leaders to take the lead and say, all right, how do we manage this in a proper transition? I mean, you've seen people like Jamie Dimon talk about the need for companies and governments to really think carefully about the policy around this. I think that is right.